Let's go.
Despite being bottom of the table, all Boro's stats show them to be a good side, pretty much equal to us. They have almost racked up an identical XG, the same number of shots on target, same field tilt stats, same pressing intensity, same pass success rate. So this was not going to be an easy game. There were, though, reasons to be hopeful. Boro do concede more shots at their goal than we have at ours, and therefore they also concede an average of one more goal per game than we do. So, this had all the shape of a tight game that we should nick.
Face a Middlesbrough team today, who may be
with Pritchard still missing, Tony selected the same team as against Watford, but with the flanks and centre-halves switched over again. This time Patrick Roberts played on the right wing, with Abdullah Bar moving inside to play in the 10 role. Ostensibly this was a 4-2-3-1 as usual, but with flexibility. In possession and attack, Hume, Jobe and Bar all stepped up to create a 3-2-3-2. And in defence, they sat back, creating a 4-2-3-1. Clearly, if we lost the ball in possession going forwards, we are vulnerable to a quick transition.
The 135th league meeting between Sunderland and Middlesbrough is underway.
To begin with, Boro looked very disciplined in shape and pressed us fast on several occasions.
Now Bellingham. One back well by Greenwood. Barlassa. Coburn ahead of him.
Sometimes it involved a number of professional fouls, and it seemed like the referee would largely let these go.
Bellingham caught by Crooks. It will be a free kick.
This seemed particularly fortunate for us, as Luke O'Nien is playing with fire here when this ball comes in.
Bristol Rovers last season. Hackney. And now Smith. Looking for Coburn, but it just skimmed.
He is quite clearly committing a penalty offence, pushing him in the back. He does this kind of thing increasingly. I think it's only a matter of time before we see him shrugging his shoulders at the referee, asking why a penalty has been awarded. There are two elements to Boro's threat in the first half. One, they dominate the middle. Largely, in possession, Middlesbrough chose to attack through the centre, with Hayden Hackney spraying early balls about. Some good, some not. Often we only had Dan Neil to break these attacks up and chase balls high up the park. Here, having one possession, we have a lot of players in advanced positions when Dan Neil is sold short on a pass, and he makes this tackle because he's acutely aware of the threat on transition.
Snapped into the challenge there on Coburn. There'll be a card. It's yellow. And Dan Neil was...
It is reckless, though. If he connects with those studs up, it's a red card.
It's a good job, those studs. Didn't catch the ankle, but it was still reckless and worthy of a card.
As it is, he's given a yellow. And in case you're wondering, that's his first booking of the season, which shows you just how in control of that midfield he has been.
Complaints.
Just after Neil makes the foul here, and as the referee blows, watch Isaiah Jones here. He runs a full 20 yards, full pelt directly to the referee, imploring that he does something about it. Well, I'm glad the referee is choosing not to book these sorts of protests. That would just ruin the game, wouldn't it? Here's another. The ball is played through the middle and it just escapes Dan Neil's reach. Fortunately, Luke O'Nien is there to battle for it, but he loses out, and all of a sudden, straight through the middle of the park, we're facing a 4-on-3. Mowbray got our setup wrong today, exposing Neil in our midfield. It's easy, though, to say this with hindsight. If you're Mowbray and you look at the bench, he's got no Ekwa, Matete or Evans, so there really isn't anyone to put in there and start alongside Neil. 2. Fast press and counter. The fragility of our defence was exposed when Boro intercept the ball and launch fast counterattacks. Just look at how we are instantly overloaded in midfield here because Bellingham is too advanced. I don't think Ekwa would be. And they carve through 50 yards of midfield with subsequent ease. Barlassa knows exactly where to go here. He heads for the two players on his own team that are marked up, meaning that someone will either have to come and meet him, leaving a free pass through on goal to his own player, or he'll have a free shot himself.
Greenwood, well, that slip could be crucial. It's Greenwood, it's a good save by Patterson. Coburn is there. And And somehow Sunderland managed to smuggle the ball behind. It was Dan Ballard with the challenge.
Greenwood shoots and Pato makes an expected save, but Coburn is right on top of him, and it takes some heroics by Dan Ballard to keep the ball out of the net. It seems like a weekly occurrence that Ballard auditions as Superman to throw himself in front of balls as the last man to save us.
Huggins.
Minutes later, and it's the same thing again, an intercepted ball. Bellingham is so advanced that they have us beat in midfield on the counter, and it's a good ball in that 09 has to stretch for to cut out.
He's able to find Jones. We know he's got pace. Coburn waits in the centre, but so too does 09.
Look at this. As Neal and Bellingham miss interceptions, the ball is immediately pinged behind them, and we are left facing a 5-on-4, only 35 yards out of goal. Fortunately, Boro don't make much of it, but we are being undone very easily here. Any good technical opponents will be looking at this thinking, well, this is it. This is how we beat Sunderland. I'm pretty sure another defensive midfielder will be a priority purchase in January, with Evans leaving in the summer. Sunderland's threat came in several forms as well. As they grew into the game from the 20-minute mark, they started to dominate with a good press and recycling the ball well in attack. And with more ball, Sunderland's attack came in two forms. One, to the flanks. Much like against Watford, Neal was often left with a lot to cover when Shield on his own, and this put a lot of pressure on him holding the midfield, so we went to the flanks. Roberts has a wonderful run here and nearly puts us ahead.
He will come inside. Patrick Roberts continues, and still! Oh, great save by Dieng. That would have been some goal from Patrick Roberts. But once Patrick Roberts came inside, the Middlesbrough defence seemed to melt away. Spawn. Once he was inside the penalty area, there was a real reluctance to make a challenge, but...
And on the half-hour mark, Burstow ran free, but ultimately showed poor control.
Sunderland have been looking for Burstow. Carried the ball a long way, but then ran into Jones.
A long ball to Abdullah Bar set him free, running against the Boro back line, and this is a terribly cynical professional foul by Isaiah Jones to stop play. And watch, as the ref produces his yellow card, about 5 Boro players approach the referee to gesticulate and complain. Well, I'm glad the referee is choosing not to book these sorts of protests. That would just ruin the game, wouldn't it? 2. From subsequent free kicks, we can see Sunderland's second tactic. We are the worst team in the division at winning aerial duels. Bottom of the league for that. So we get little reward from crosses that come in from the byline. For this reason, Sunderland have adopted an angled deep ball to the back post. It comes in on a 45-degree angle and is hard to defend against because there's a lot of vertical pitch movement on the ball and makes it harder to judge. It also breaks up the defensive line of the opposition. In an effort to fare better in the box, this is what Sunderland have been doing. Think Hume's ball to Clark against Southampton, or Job nearly scoring at the back post against QPR. And we saw this again today. I'm sure we're going to see it consistently from now on. This ball in from Clark to the back post.
Clark going deep, but Dieng claims well.
This is also the reason we play our corners short, because it pulls the back line defensively out of shape for us, giving us a better chance.
Clark. And the cross is driven, but it's beyond Bellingham.
And here is another ball in from Joe.
And again the cross is high and Dieng pulls the ball behind. And he was challenged there by Ballard inside the area. And the free kick's been given and Dieng has been left trussed up in the netting. Well, Ballard would argue it was a ball to fight for, and back in the day that sort of challenge would have been allowed.
Things begin to go south for Sunderland though in the 28th minute as Niall Huggins goes down injured. Tony brought on Jensen Seelt, and Hume went over to left-back, but this has in totality derived us of another attacking impetus in Huggins leaving the field. It seemed to make little difference, though, as Sunderland initially seemed to continue to dominate. Neil here to Burstow.
But it's back to Neil. The crowd urged him to shoot, but it's lifted high to the far post.
And then a Hume shot.
Clark. And fired in. But too high this time.
And then everything changed. The ball goes out for a goal kick and Dan Neil turns around, walking back to his position, not towards the referee. And he complains that Clark was fouled and he should have had a free kick. He's wrong on that, but no matter. Gillett decides that 30 seconds from half-time, this is the moment for him to be inconsistent and to punish what he had not before. He shows Neil a second yellow, sending him off the field. Neil is rightly incredulous, and as the game restarts for the final few seconds, Gillett watches Coburn leap into a final combat forearm smash across Dan Ballard's face, putting him to the floor.
Flawless victory fatality.
But that isn't even a booking. Complaining about a foul is a red card offence, unless you are a Boro player, of course. I mean, what is going on here? Refs are supposed to manage a game, not ruin them.
Looking to calm things down. And the North East fury has really come to the fore here.
As Sunderland came out from the break, Tony made a substitution, deciding to go through at the back and deployed Clark and Hume as wing-backs. Essentially, we were playing a back five defensively and hoping to get something out of the game going down the flanks forward. But this proved almost instantaneously a disaster. Within minutes, we were overrun. But being a man down should not result in a 4-0 drubbing. So what the hell happened second half? As the ball comes out here, 09 stops play because he thinks the player next to him has been injured, and he could easily get the ball. It's about 3 yards away from him, but because he stops and Boro carry on, this provides a ball for Isaiah Jones, and it takes an outstanding save from Pato to keep the score at 0-0.
What a save by Patterson! That is outstanding.
But this chance doesn't even come for Boro if Luke doesn't stop for his man. I mean, the ref's not obliged to blow up play. It's not a head injury. I mean, look at this save again. It is world class.
To make the save. And this was the opportunity for Crooks. And Patterson sprawling superbly.
With Dan Neil off, there was also no one with the positional experience to shore things up. Combine this with the fact that we've effectively gone to a back five in defence, this left enough space to hold a car boot sale in front of the defensive line. Look at this Boro corner. It is played short, and we are so defensively set on the 6-yard line. We're ridiculously overloaded there. Nobody comes out to challenge these players. They're free in the box. They choose to dink it over, but they could just as easily have a lash at goal here.
Smith in space, and the header over the top from McNair. Well,
the choice Boro make is to dink a ball in, and McNair picks out the cross, but somehow Triangle Head manages to put it over the bar from 3 yards out.
Sends it over the top.
The only surprise is really that the first goal comes from the left, and a situation that is not about pace or numbers at all. As the ball pings back out, Ashish here runs to defend it, but really he's got to be the goal side here. He gives Fry no option but to turn to the byline, which he does. And that's what he wants to do. And he puts a ball into the near post.
And it's in! And it's a brilliant finish by Sam Greenwood.
And Seelt here is frankly too slow. You're not playing under 21s football anymore, Sonny Jim. You've got to get to that ball and get to it quick. Look at Dan Ballard and how he reacts to situations like this. It's just, a bit naive. It'll come with experience for these two players. It's a soft goal to concede. It's not a 10-man thing.
There was contact.
For the second goal, Clark is exposed and easily beaten by Jones here. And this puts Sealt in a difficult situation. Here, the players that he and Ballard are marking switch positions, and there isn't communication between the two of them. Sealt makes the right choice, actually, not to follow his man and to cover the one moving to the back post, but he's got to be more alert here.
And he's away from Clark this time. Still Isaiah Jones, and it's 2. Matt Crooks this time.
His actions just lack a bit of commitment and physicality here to dominate that space, and he's got no pace about ensuring the ball is his. A bit like the first goal. I mean, it's not his fault. He just needs more minutes. Right position, wrong level of awareness, I think. There is a defender there who knows what he should be doing, but this is not the game to come on for in your first big competitive stint. It was a really tough ask, and in some sense he suffered a bit.
Sunderland now.
2 goals down, and Mowbray realised his error. Too defensively set, too many players out of position, so he replaced Barr with Rigg and effectively went to a 4-5-0, which is probably what we should have done in the first place. But from here, Carrick just piled on the pressure, sending fresh attacking legs on in substitutions every 7 minutes like clockwork, and Boro drove home the win. We pushed Clark, Jobe and Dowsheet up a bit and fared a little better, but the numerical advantage showed again in the 73rd minute when Jones was put through.
Rogers. And now Jones. No flag. It's Isaiah Jones, and it's 3-0.
He's actually offside here. I mean, look at the linesman bottom of the frame. He has a clear view right across the offside line there and somehow fails to give it. Might as well not be there, son. Paid nearly 50 grand a year not to get that one right. The game is totally gone now. Racine comes on for Jack Clark, and this substitution is an admission that we're no longer trying to get anything from the game. It's now about minutes for players. The game is lost. There was a 4th right at the death for Boro, but there isn't really much useful to say about that from here on in. It was a terrible afternoon for the lads. Tony got it wrong. We had a system that placed a lot of pressure on Dan Neil in the first place as the only holding midfielder against a good side who counter-attacked through the middle. We just about edged the first half, but they had numerous chances through that midfield that showed the danger. And when Neil went off, Sunderland set up, inviting the pressure, and we had no experience or leadership on the field to organise a defensive set, a man down. By the time Tony realised, it was all too late, and there were no options on the bench to really fix this anyway. The ref ultimately ruined what was looking like an excellent game first half. No doubt Boro fans thought it turned out to be an excellent one for them. The only real saving grace for Sunderland is that this defeat doesn't really mean anything. The sending off transformed the game, and it means that the team will feel robbed rather than ruined. I'll be ignoring this result as a meaningless one, but one that Mowbray has surely learnt some key lessons for. Let's find out, and I'll see you next time.